Hi, I'm Scott Tibbs from Roland, and I'm here at Sweetwater to show you the new JD-XA from Roland. The JD-XA is an amazing new crossover synthesizer, and this crossover concept is a brand new analog engine and our highest DSP digital engine. So you put those together and you have an amazing sound. Now how it works is that you can have the analog side run by itself, the digital side run by itself. You can have them run together. You can have them cross-pollinate in any way that you want. On the analog side, there's 4 parts. Each part has 2 analog oscillators. And these oscillators can go through either the analog filter or the digital filter. The digital parts can do the same as well. So with each analog part, you have the 2 oscillators. You have pulse width modulation for each of the oscillators. You have the analog filter, the amplifier, and then you also have individual part effects and also real-time effects. We call these TFX. And the effects are digital, so you can have some very interesting configurations with the effects with the analog sound, or if you want to stay completely pure, you can go out the analog out and you have a pure analog sound. So let me just play a couple of sounds for you. Pretty much just a kick drum, right? A little bit of delay on it. It's really nice to have these mod wheels in addition to the traditional Roland bender here. Also some very nice kind of clean, delayed lead sounds. The filters are amazing. And of course, you have the variable analog filter and the variable digital filter. We also have an additional high-pass filter. So if you really need to get crispy, you can, no problem. Now, this is a good example of the analog side and the digital side in this crossover synth concept. I have 4 digital parts and I have the 4 analog parts. I have those in polystack mode, so that means that I can play up to a 4-note chord. So I can have this kind of sound, and I'm going to tweak the filter with the expression pedal. Again, it's very nice to have that textural composition factor that you can really make amazing sounds. Now, I have some other cool sounds. This aggressive lead. And I have some additional modulation assigned to the wheel. If I put those sounds together, I can, in a song, it kind of sounds like this. Again, very, very nice use of analog technology and the digital technology. Again, when you put these together, it's amazing how much you can sculpt and have a lot of flexibility. Of course, when you deal with the polyphony, you can say, well, okay, on the analog side, I can use that for, some really powerful chords, or I can put any of those parts in any range of the keyboard for one particular extra punch. Or I can use the digital side, and that's where I'm going to really get all of the polyphony, so all the many notes I would probably use on the digital side. But you can put all those digital parts through the analog filter, and it just sounds super warm and really nice. Okay, let me show you a little bit how the architecture works. So we have a 4-tone architecture. On this one, I have just the tone 4 is on, and the blue lights, indicates that I'm editing just this tone. So if I had all of these tones on and I wanted to edit the first 3, I can configure it that way, I can do it that way, or I can edit all of the tones from the front panel at once. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play around with the first tone. This is just one pure analog tone. Incredible, accurate. The filter envelope is just amazing, and the filters just are really, really smooth. And let me bring in another tone. You can hear that I'm just editing that tone. Now I'll bring in another one. Brings in the pitch at the 5th. Very simple architecture, very easy to manipulate in real time. Now, let me show you how I can take all the 4 analog parts and put them in a polystack mode. That means that I can play the 4 tones as one chord instead of 4 independent notes. So I have this kind of pad sound. Essentially, it's a Jupiter 4. But remember, you have 2 oscillators per part, so you can have up to 8 different tones. So it gets plenty big. Now, let's take the same sound and let's add a couple of the digital parts. So here's the analog sound. Very warm, very nice, very typical Roland. Now I'm going to bring in this this digital crossover concept and bring in some digital parts. So the digital parts at this point might be a little loud in volume. So I'm just going to bring them down just a little bit, so I just have a little bit of a taste of that digital sound on top, that bell type sound. Now go back over to the analog side, and then it's just tweaking the analog side. Again, it's so nice and flexible to have both of these amazing technologies all in one synthesizer and have completely independent control or work with them together. Now, there's the additional high-pass filter. It's very nice. I have this arpeggiated sound going through some digital distortion. But the distortion on the TFX side is very, very clean, because it allows me to really kind of crank this filter, and it still is very, you can hear all the frequencies. And I can even detune the second oscillator, maybe at a major third. And normally that would be very difficult to hear if the distortion was cranking. Just really, really nice. Now, if you just want to go old school with just some really cool bass sounds, you absolutely can do that. Maybe add the arpeggiator. Swallows real nice. Okay, so now this is also very interesting. I have the arpeggiator cranking this this sound, and it's going through a high-pass filter. And I have a digital sound and analog sounds going at the same time. I'm going to switch the filter. Now we're just listening to the digital sound right now. Independent LFOs. Very cool, very flexible. Now, I have many different parts that I could sequence, okay? On this particular example, I'm going to be sequencing 4 different parts coming in via MIDI. That's also, I can have them be inputted here on the 16 pads here, TR style or real-time recording. Many different options as far as sequencing. So I can have something like this coming in. I'm just going to have this coming in from my DAW. Get the idea. Very cool, a lot of fun. Now, everything is organized in banks, so you can select and set up your favorite sounds so they're all in a row, so you can make some very quick changes, or you could just put it in manual mode and you're just like old school synthesizer. Now let's talk a little bit more about the digital analog crossover concept. A very typical digital bell sound. Now if I just take a filter sweep of this digital bell sound turns into a lot of flexibility, and that's because on all of the digital side, it's our supernatural synth technology. So there's a lot more movement, a lot more editing capabilities using the supernatural synth stuff. So now I'm going to take another sound, very similar. There's the digital bell sound, but now I have analog parts. And I'm going to do the same filter sweep. Pretty big difference when you bring in the analog engine. Now, you think of like how to use the analog part as well as the digital part. You can use it in many different ways. Of course, you can get really dirty with the digital side, really dirty with the analog side, and vice versa. Very smooth, very clean. But it's really nice to be able to have maybe something very dirty being tweaked through, saturated a little bit through the high-pass filter, and then maybe some of the effects, and then have a digital sound that's just kind of floating around, that's just maybe very soft or very pure, and it just really adds some very unique qualities to the texture of the sound. Now here's a very cool thing I like. Now I just have a very simple wind example, just white noise. Very simple. Add a little bit of reverb. Now I'm going to add a subsonic tone, which is pitchable. Cross-modulate this a little bit. Bring in the oscillators. Detune them a little bit. Add a little filter LFO. And just kind of go backwards. Take the oscillators off. Remove the reverb. Very simple, but very, very cool and powerful. Now, here's a good example of the digital side going through the analog filter. So I have a very, very nice pad. And again, this is where you're going to get all of your polyphony, I believe. So I have this really warm sound. I can play these big chords. Again, very, very cool, you know, because I have the warm sounding digital stuff or the mean sounding digital stuff, but I could also bring in the analog parts, and I could maybe have just one part in the key range playing the bass note, or a couple of voices up, you know, in the right hand. So you really fill out that wonderful, thick, you know, pad that you want. Okay, so now here's another interesting thing that I really, really like. What I did is I put together a lot of noise kits, noise rhythms. And what's really nice about this is that all this stuff is available on the website at the launch of the JD-XA. So you have not only the preset sounds, but you have several different banks of sounds that you can go in and download very easily. Just get them off of the Axial website. Okay, like for instance, I have this really cool noise rhythm texture, right? Of course, I can play this in any way that I want. So you can create this kind of percolating rhythmic thing based on noise, or you can sequence it. So I have this. Because it's all part of this multi-track sequencer here inside the JD-XA. Now let's take it even one step further. Let me just show you another one that I really like. Super gritty noise, right? But when I sequence it, it becomes a very melodic, very cool concept. Okay? Now, there's also CV gate in the back. And I have this connected to the System 1M. And I have, I'm just going to turn this on a little bit. So I hope you have a better understanding of some of the possibilities of the JD-XA. Now believe me, we're just touching the surface. The sound capabilities of this instrument are absolutely amazing. Whether you're using the analog side, the digital side, or both, or you're also connecting to modular equipment like the System 1M or any other modular gear, you have every sonic possibility that you could ever dream of from an analog synth and a digital synth. So if you have any other questions, please contact your Sweetwater sales engineers. Thanks a lot.